Have you ever taken something as simple as a text that says we need to talk, either coming from your boss or your boyfriend, and suddenly come to the random realization that they no longer want you, or that you're going to get fired, or if you're dating your boss, both maybe? You see, that is called catastrophizing. It is a cognitive distortion that we all do. So don't worry, you're not alone. But what I want to discuss in this video is how did this term, this catastrophizing term and catastrophizing anxiety came to be, but also how to stop it. So without further ado, my name is Olympia. I have a degree in cognitive neuroscience. And what I like to do, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours every Thursday and see what makes you tick, but also makes you talk. So catastrophizing, let's start. So in my previous videos on how overthinking is ruining my relationship and also how overthinking is the biggest cause of unhappiness, I talk about the mental filter, the mind filter we have of catastrophizing events and how that served our ancestors. But we, and I say we, I mean right now in 2020 and for the past few centuries, our brain kind of skipped that update and we no longer need necessarily to catastrophize anything because our ancestors used it mostly in response to physical danger. But right now we've minimized physical danger to a great extent where we're actually using this ability, this surviving instinct, in the wrong way. So I'm going to teach you how to use this in a more effective, productive, and positive way. First of all, my dear friends, we have to understand the difference between anxiety, stress, and worry. You see, worry is the ability to solve problems, finding multiple solutions. Stress is the physiological response to how your body reacts to those problems. And in prehistoric times, this actually had a purpose. So when you're stressed, for example, and your hands become clammy, it basically is your body's way of cooling off because suddenly your temperature is going up. And then anxiety is that intersection between worry and stress, and that's the emotional mostly part of it. Now, licensed mental health counselor Daniel Friedman said that people usually go down two paths. And if you're lucky, like yours truly, sometimes you actually go down both paths. So people that catastrophize either catastrophize the present event or the future events. That is something that happens in the present right now and they're thinking that the worst case scenario, the worst belief will come out, whereas other people think about the future and the beliefs and how they will in the future come out, that worst case scenario. Another fun fact about anxiety is that it's actually triggered in two different parts of the brain. So you have the anxiety that is happening in the cortex, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that is responsible for images and thoughts. So anxiety could be, that's related to, for example, did I leave the car unlocked? And then you also have the anxiety that stems from the brainstem, which is the one that actually is responsible for your immediate reaction. So if something pops up in front of you, if you have like a predator or a serial killer, you're not gonna sit, your cortex is not gonna sit and be like, who is this? What is he gonna do? What do you think he's gonna do? No, your brainstem will immediately react and you will have either the flight, fight, or freeze response. So either basically you will stand still, you will fight them, or you will run. I haven't figured out which one I am, by the way. What I want to emphasize here is that there's nothing fundamentally wrong with you if you're catastrophizing. Our brain is wired that way. Our brain is wired to think about the negative thoughts. Studies have shown that 70% of our thoughts are the negative. And why is that? It's because those negative thoughts, those issues, those thoughts that presented whatever issues, problems, were the ones that needed to be addressed in order for us to survive. But like I said, we no longer live in that world. So now we are responsible for rewiring our own brain because like I said, we missed the update. Now, as I said in my previous videos, many times it's not the event itself that scares us, it's the feeling that comes with that event, the fear. But FDR said that courage is not about the absence of fear. Courage is the assessment that something else is more important than fear. Our brains don't like to feel fearful. They don't like to feel uncomfortable, which is why we usually catastrophize, because it's a defense mechanism. We think that if we overanalyze and nitpick a situation and get that worst case scenario, that we're gonna be prepared. But that's not really the case. And of course, this can put on tremendous stress, both on your mind and on your body, By the way, if you want my free 6 ways to underwhelm when you're overwhelmed, make sure to check out my website below. I will link it in the description. But this is the one thing that you can do. First of all, recognize it. So here you're lucky, because how do you recognize you're catastrophizing something? Basically just ask yourself, is this the worst case scenario? Am I obsessing about the worst case scenario? And even if it's not, and you're going into another catastrophizing mode and you're thinking of a worst case scenario of your worst case scenario, you'll stop at some point. And when you realize that you're thinking about the worst case scenario, that's your cue. You're catastrophizing. So how do you stop this? How do you manage it? First of all, start living in the what is instead of the what if. Stop what-ifizing a situation. Realize that whatever is going on right now and how you are presenting yourself right now, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, those are the things that you're in control of. Putting all those what ifs and creating hypothetical scenarios and bringing out that worst case scenario in no way will serve you. You can allow yourself maybe a few minutes to be prepared, let's say, for a few situations, but catastrophizing to the extent that you are sick to your stomach, heart palpitation, clammy hands, hyperventilating, panic attacks, anxiety, stress, that's not worth it. That's not constructive overthinking. That's not coming up with solutions. That's just creating more problems. And basically, you're literally, with your what ifs, you're adding to the list of another possible problem that wasn't even there to begin with. So start focusing on what is around you. Some people call this meditation, some people call this grounding work, some people call this affirmations. It doesn't matter. Focus on right now. So right now, for example, whatever my worries are, I am talking to you guys. I am trying to help you guys. I'm trying to combine my knowledge of the human brain and how that human brain expresses thoughts and emotions to help you get over what I like to call little brain farts, because we all have them, we all do it. Everyone catastrophizes at some point in their life, and if we're chronic catastrophizers, this video is for you. But right now, this is what I'm doing. So let me know in the comments below, what are you doing right now? What is in your present? What is in your control? And stop what-ifizing the situation. The second thing you need to do, and this is gonna sound really corny, because I found it corny. Have faith in yourself. I know a lot of people say this. It's easier said than done. And when I say have faith in yourself, like I said, catastrophizing is basically thinking of the worst case scenario. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down the worst case scenario. Now, there's a thing called metacognitive thinking. And studies have shown that if you write something down, you are entering into metacognitive thinking. Metacognitive thinking means that you become aware of the way you think. And with new imaging technology, we can literally see the brain, how it lights up like a little Christmas tree. And when we think, feel, express, come into contact with something, we can see what part of the brain lights up. So by changing the way you think, you can also you can literally change the neural pathways and how your brain functions and how you tackle that problem. So when I say have faith in yourself, I'm saying that I want you to write that worst case scenario and remove the emotions from it. Try and think of just the thought of this is what will happen. Not how you will feel if it happens, but what is the worst case scenario. And then what I want you to do is I want you to look at that and I want you to find a solution, because my channel is all about perspective. So if you want to go nuts and start panicking about the worst case scenario, harsh truth time. If you find a solution for that worst case scenario, you have no excuse. You're prepared. That's it. You have no reason to catastrophize. And you'll realize that the solution is much more easier than the complex emotions that come with that catastrophizing scenario, that worst case scenario. Because I've said this in my previous videos, it's the feeling that comes with the thought that we're afraid of rather than the thought in the event itself. So, for example, a real personal thing for me, one of my fears over the years is that I will have a seizure when I'm alone, and I'll think that no one will be here to help me, or I'll have a seizure when I'm outside, and again, I won't have any loved one to be there to help me. So what I did when I had this fear and I was catastrophizing and obsessing about it and stressing about it, which by the way, brings out my seizures. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle, because I get stressed about having a seizure, and the stress caused the seizure, and it's a mess. So what I did is that I wrote down that, and I was like, I've actually had a seizure by myself. And what did I do? I called my mom. I don't remember it, but I called her. And then I thought, I actually had a seizure outside. I was walking to buy something and I had a seizure, and funny enough, guess who decided to be next to me and see if I'm okay? A neurologist. Now, I'm not saying obviously that your solution or what happens to you will be as perfectly timed as mine, like the fact that I had a seizure, neurologist was there. But what I'm saying is that you understand that the solution to the worst case scenario, maybe you've actually been through it and you don't remember it. Because like I said, 70% of our thoughts are negative, and that is purely from survival. But now, through this video, and up to you, it's your time to change it. So let me know in the comments below if this worked for you. Make sure to check out my other videos on overanalyzing, overthinking. They're just brain farts. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, ring that bell for your weekly Thursday videos. Give me a huge thumbs up to make Mama algorithm love me. But most importantly, guys, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And that's it, folks.